Hey there, welcome on in. I'm Shiro Ndune, author of Dates Like Cleopatra, The Good Girl Flips the Script, and today we are talking about time. Time and creating time. But before we do that, here we go. Ooh. Thank you for humoring me. So I've been having these conversations with guys for some time now, actually, because I wrote my book, Date Like Cleopatra, The Good Girl Flips the Script, while I was in a while I was in my corporate job. So full time corporate, but then I wrote the book. So the question was how? So some people ask this question with a raised eyebrow, like, like we know you did something dodgy. I didn't do anything dodgy. You don't have to do anything dodgy to create time for the things you love. So, this is what we're going to be talking about today. So, this is really what I did. And the absolute first thing that you must do if you're on this journey is to ask yourself, how important is this to you? You need to decide. Let me just tell you frankly. You need to make a firm decision that this is something that you want. This is something that you get to have. Visualize yourself having achieved it and connect with that feeling that that gives you and say, yes, this is something that I want. The reason this makes all the difference is there are things that I haven't done. I've always wanted to learn Swedish, but I admit to myself that my interest in learning the language isn't that strong. I haven't made the firm decision in my head to learn it because if I had, I would have moved heaven and earth to make it happen. So that's really the first thing. And I do believe that a vast majority of people, including the people I've spoken to, fall off at this point. And it's fine. It's just that you then realize it and you make peace in your head. It's like climbing Mount Kilimanjaro. I made peace in my head that that's not something that I want to do. It's not on my bucket list. For you guys who it is, cheers. It's not on mine. Fine, the end. Then I don't spend any of my mental energy trying to think about it and feeling bad that I don't do it and I haven't achieved it. It's not for me, and that's okay. Hmm? So there you go. Firm decision, visualize it, make sure it feels good in you. See yourself there, and that will motivate you to stay in the course because it is a course. Let me see what I have here. Be open to seeing the world in a different way. I truly like this one. What happened for me when I was writing my book is I first of all got a lot of resources. You need to learn. That's one of my points. You need to learn how to do this. I wasn't born an author. So I've always had the passion and I've always had the interest. In fact, I've always been writing. I've had a blog forever. And before that, a diary. And before that, I was just always writing. But to write a book is a different thing. So I needed to get the resources, first of all, on the actual writing. How does one write? And the motivation to keep at it. So one of the things I did was I did a course called the Writers Bureau. Is a course that I did that helped me it gave me like just broad strokes on understanding the writing process and a lot of motivation because we'd have meetings every week, and in that week you come up and say what it is you've been doing and how you've been doing it and stuff like that, and you have a Q&A session. So that was helpful for putting my mindset in that of someone who writes. Because I couldn't call myself an author forever. That is something I started calling myself well this year after my book was out. And even then, with some trepidation, it's not something that I came singing naturally. No, there was some mindset shifting that I needed to do, even on that. Yeah. Hacks. I got a book that helped me with hacks on when to write and even how to write. It turns out that I was a poor typer. So I got a book that taught me about dictating my book. I got a book that taught me about the motivation of writing early in the morning. So because I had made the decision, is how I'll put it, since I had already made the decision that this is something that I was going to do, the universe started pouring resources in my direction. These things I only came to see because of the firm decision that I had made. And I reached out to them and I used the material, and it enabled me to see the world in a different way. But I also saw time in a different way. I also engaged with time differently. Because yes, I woke up 1 hour earlier every day, but I also stopped thinking of sleep in the same ways. Such that yes, I was sleeping. I love my sleep, so I do sleep 8 hours a day, but I stopped thinking of things as a make it and break it. That if one day I happened to go to bed late, then I would think that the next day I can't write. No, that wasn't the case. So I had to break down that kind of thinking in my head. I started seeing my time as more valuable because the things I was doing, even the things that I was doing at work, I had to look at them and consider their value. My time became expensive. So the things that I was happy to do that were time wasting at work, I stopped because then I thought to myself, hold on, these 30 minutes that I'm spending in this meeting where we're staring at the ceiling, I might as well take that 30 minutes and put it into something constructive. I could use this time into figuring out something that I want to put in my book. So then, no, I stopped being available for meetings that serve no purpose. I became much firmer. I became much more assertive in how I enabled access to me and my time, which was super good. It's a mindset shift. I find that one a tongue twister. I always have so much trouble saying that one. Mindset shift. I don't know why. Yes. So that we're not belaboring points. What was the next one? Get uncomfortable and creative. It's meant to be uncomfortable. These things are not given to you on a bed of roses. The art and activity of writing is tedious and repetitive. It's Robert Greene, I believe, who talks about how that's not something you do because you want. I can't remember now how he put it, but his point was that it's not glamorous. The activity of sitting down and writing is there's no glamour to it. There's no social network around you. That's no, no, no. It's just you and your writing. Yeah, and it's something that I wanted so much that I was ready to invest that for me wasn't a pain. It's so in your case, whatever it is. So I gave the example of writing because for me that's what I've done, and it resonates with me. But whatever your interest, I have a friend who's into singing. She's into singing and she truly truly loves it. And what she does is that she's gotten a voice coach. She goes out for open mic nights every week. She puts herself out there. She has started a YouTube channel. She started doing things that put her out there in terms of her singing work. And that's the point. It's not just having the idea in your head and doing nothing. You actually have to do. In fact, for writing, I was telling another friend of mine who says that she just doesn't have time to write. I was telling her that the thing, and I got this somewhere, is that you need to write every day, even if you are taking 10 minutes in the toilet. Because she has kids. So she has kids and she has all this stuff going around her. She was asking, where can she get time? If it's 10 minutes in the toilet where you lock yourself and you're just handwriting anything, it's you're doing your diary, you're journaling, you're writing stuff that happened to you on that day, that it's the muscle that you're creating in your head, the repetitive muscle of doing and doing and doing again. I guess working towards your 10,000 hours, the practice and the repetition, even when it's not, even when you, it's not glamorous, even when it is difficult, even when it pushes against you. Of course, you can have down days, but the point is to get back there because of the decision and the image in your head. You've decided it. And so the universe and everything else is giving you everything you need to achieve this thing that you have decided because you are the creator. You are the creator of your life. You determine what it is that comes into it. And once you've made the decision, you push, push, push until you get to what it is and face the fear. Procrastination, I was listening somewhere the other day, is the fruit of fear. You procrastinate not because you don't have the time, but because you're afraid of facing this thing that you are doing. Huh. Let me tell you, I don't know if I've ever told this story on YouTube. I was interested in poetry. So I've written poems. I've written quite a number of poems. And in fact, I collected all my poems together before I wrote Date Like Cleopatra. And I got excited because I realized that there were quite many. So these are all the poems I've written throughout my life. I started writing poetry when I was quite young. And I threw them together and paid an editor and asked her for her feedback. But I couldn't ask my friends. I didn't know if they were any good. In fact, the only person I had ever asked was a guy I was dating, and he said they were terrible. So yeah. So I didn't want to ask people who knew me and then they'd give me things and then maybe they'd tell me nicely that it's okay, or I wasn't sure if I'd believe them, or they'd tell me it's terrible and I don't know what would happen. My worst case scenario was being a bad writer. That was for me the worst thing that could ever happen. Facing up to that reality was for me like death. So when I took that was what was keeping me from writing even this book, Date Like Cleopatra. So when I took my poems to an editor, and I paid a good penny for that editor. She came back, and in short said that she was very polite about it. but her feedback was that I needed to put a bit more effort and work into learning the art of poetry writing before I got into it. Yeah, and she said a lot of many things and she did a lot of underlining and she put a lot of comments, and I felt slapped. I felt, oh no, this is it. This is because this is it. This is someone telling me I'm not good enough. My writing is not good enough. And actually that should be the point that I highlight, yeah? The difference between I not being good enough and my writing not being good enough. Because it's the identity. If I have identified myself with my writing as I had then it wasn't just feedback that those couple of poems that I'd thrown together were not what the market needed, that I needed to refine them, which was actually her feedback. It's not that they were terrible, and it's not that I was terrible. It's that, in fact, she did say she did have one good thing to say about them. I can't remember. Something to do. I clearly I haven't gone back into studying poetry. I started but stopped. I hadn't decided. But either way, the long and short of this to be that it wasn't about me. My identity doesn't shift. My worthiness as a human being, a child of God, will never change based on what it is I do. Whether I do it well, whether I do it badly, that's neither here nor there. That does not affect my divinity. My ability to do things like write poems can be good or bad. And it could even be that it's, things change. How to put it? Like, like, like in fact, my method of writing poetry was a bit more traditional, is one of the things she said. And the world has evolved since then. But because of the way things go, maybe that more traditional thing might come back. Or I might get into a poetry course and learn something if that's really my interest. But all this to say that she helped me face my biggest fear. Because of that rejection of my books, of my poems, sorry, I got the strength, willpower, confidence to sit down and write Date Like Cleopatra. Because the worst had happened. This was a book that my soul was longing to write. And if it came out and it was thrown back at my face, I could handle that because it had happened before. It's so empowering, actually. It's what Napoleon Hill talks about when he says that every failure has a seed of potential within it. That was my failure that had this seed of potential, which was I no longer needed to procrastinate. I no longer needed to fear because the worst had already happened. I truly hope this inspires you because fear is what keeps a lot of us locked, a lot of us unwilling to move forward with what it is we actually want to do. And this is the invitation to face fear head on. Do it scared, I always say. Do it scared. Because the alternative is not doing it at all. And then who wins? That's what I had for you today. I hope you've enjoyed this one. I have truly enjoyed it. It was a walk down memory lane. I'd actually forgotten about the poems. I haven't thought about that in some time. Imagine, at some point, that was the biggest thing that could ever happen to me. And then it happened, and now I've forgotten about it. That's fear. That's what happens with the things that we fear. Thank you for joining me. I appreciate you, and we shall meet next time.